Spokane, Washington, a city built on hard work, culture, and tradition. In 1881, the Spokane tribe, who has helped shape Spokane in the city it is today, were sequestered into a 154,602-acre known as Chief Lot Reservation. This abuse of indigenous people is a common thing we continue to see spanning across the United States, and it's coming to the forefront of the American people's mind. One aspect of this rising awareness is the use of Native figures and stereotypes in mascots and logos. Since the 1970s, racist and incentive team names and mascots have been a hot topic of conversation in the sports world. Here in Spokane, though, tensions with two professional teams' names were ironed out over a decade ago. The teams, namely the Spokane Indians baseball team and the Spokane Chiefs hockey team, have gained national attention for their good relationship with the Spokane tribe. Both owned by Brett Sports, the teams have worked to ensure that their names stay as an honor and does not become another wound. The problem is when it becomes more than that.
When they would go to a game or go against somebody, they say, we want to scalp those Indians. Well, that's where I think the animosity came from.
Mike Stenskar, a junior high school art teacher and Spokane native, spoke with us about what mascots mean to him.
If you think about what every mascot is, they're typically animals, like you got the Bears, you got the Cubs, you got the, like those things are all mascots, where then you're taking this group of people and making them a mascot. And that's the question mark.
And how have the Spokane Indians managed to keep a collaborative partnership after all this time? About to start their 60-game season in early May, the Spokane Indians baseball team has been a powerhouse in the minor league level. The single-A team has seen big players like Justin Miller, Tommy Hunter, and Carl Edwards move up to the major leagues and accomplish great things. These players were a part of history, not just baseball history, but a social justice history.
It would have been difficult for a tribe to come in and say, I don't like that name, I want it changed, because they never had the attorneys, the legislation that was available to them. Now it's different. Now everything's, the new age is coming up and they're saying, hey, I don't like that.
Founded in 1903, the Spokane Indians were named in honor of the Spokane tribe. However, in 2006, the team reached out to ensure that the tribe was happy with the name and mascot. We spoke with Otto Klein, the senior vice president of the Spokane Indians, about the relationship.
Generations and generations of people have grown up knowing our name, and really what we've talked about recently is how we're named after the Spokane Tribe of Indians, which is a group of people, not just a nickname.
The tribe felt pride in the name, and both sides agreed to partner in earnest on some initiatives. They meet twice a year at Tribal Council to keep the working relationship alive.
We go through a variety of topics, whether it's language initiative that we have together. We give them update about what's happening with us here at the ballpark. They give an update of what's happening with on the reservation, things that are important to them.
Language plays a big part in the tribe's relationship with the team. In one of their meetings with the tribe, the concern of the loss of their language was brought up. According to the administration for the Native Americans, 65 of the United States' 245 native languages have already gone extinct, with 75 others in near extinction, with only a few elder speakers left.
They've been also trying to educate within the schools and the school system to have more of their youth be a part of the language.
When the tribe and the team first began working with each other, only 12 people spoke the language fluently. The timing was perfect. Already in the process of rebranding, the team players stepped onto the field wearing the Spokane tribe's language in 2006. Their jerseys read Spokane Baseball Team in the Salish language.
We were the first team in professional sports to have a native language on the front of our home uniform. This jersey is now in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York.
However, the rebranding did not stop at the words. In accordance with their age, the Indians changed their colors to incorporate tan. They also included the eagle feather. It's not an exaggeration to say that their partnership is historic. Built on respect and inclusion, the Spokane Indians and the Spokane tribe are confident that the relationship will last for a lifetime.
I think that we're one of the examples in professional sports where we've done it a right way.
And the effects are very visible. Signage all around the park displays the team's proud connection with the local tribe. It sports the eagle feather as well as more of the Salish language. Another prominent figure is the red band, the subject of yet another initiative the tribe has had with the team. As for the Spokane Chiefs, the hockey team moved to Spokane in 1985 from Kelowna, British Columbia in Canada. Their branding was not as conscious as it is now.
When they did move, there was a logo of a Indian in a headdress. The following year, in 1986-87, is when we moved to basically the current version of what our logo is.
As for backlash from the community, Jay Stewart says that there really hasn't been any.
We haven't had the calling here locally for the Chiefs or the Indians to change our name, change our logo. We feel like the people here locally understand the relationship that we have, that we are representing the Chiefs name, using the logo in a proper way. What we hear normally is maybe somebody from the East Coast sending a tweet or an email that doesn't necessarily understand the relationship that our organization as a whole has had with the tribes here locally.
Very popular in Spokane and the surrounding area, the Chiefs also have a business relationship with two of the surround tribes. Both the sponsorship from the tribe's casinos and the eyes on the tribe's advertisements are vast.
Any given year, we sell more tickets than anybody else in the Inland Northwest. We're typically about 200,000 fans a year.
North Central High School in Spokane is home to the mascot of the Indians. Just on Tuesday, the 27th, the school district held a public forum about the impending name change. We had the opportunity to speak with Jenny Slagle, a member of the Yakima Nation and the Spokane Public School District, about a recent op-ed she wrote for the Inlander about the need for a name change.
They started using the Indian mascot in the 1920s, and as I referenced, around that same time, there were a lot of government policies that were put in place to assimilate Native people and tribes.
As for the new law, some exceptions have been allowed. Should public schools work with and gain permission from local tribes for continued respectful use, they will not be in violation of the law. Jenny has concerns about the practicality of that move.
We are an urban school district, and within our school district, we have 1,800 Native, self-identified Native students from over 300 different tribes across the U.S. Most represented in our district are actually the Colville tribal students, and then Spokane tribe, and then a variation of Montana and Washington tribes. I don't want it to become the issue of who should we consult and who has the right to say whether or not we use Indians or not.
In an effort to alleviate this concern, Spokane Public Schools decided to turn the decision into a community discussion. Their community forum event on April 27th drew 80 speakers. While not all were able to speak in the 2-hour slot, all but one said they were in support of moving away from the name.
Going back to the urban identity, I think we need to listen to the collective voice of Natives here in Spokane, considering we are not all one tribe. We're not monoliths, as as governments or other entities try to always refer back to the Spokane tribe. And I think it's great if that's where you need to start. But we've started that work, and now we're looking to expand it to work with all tribal people within our community.
An MC alumni said being a part of the high school, there was never really a huge focus on the Indians.
I didn't really associate with the Indians mascot so much, particularly I ran cross country and track, and we had our own symbols that we used and our own chants, our own slogans and stuff like that had really nothing to do with the Indians.
Elsewhere in Washington, high schools can be a breeding ground for the incentive language at the core of this issue. Ann Marshand spoke about her time at West Valley High School.
Our number one opponent for softball was always Colville, the Colville Indians. I can recall one time in high school, I don't know if it was my junior or senior year, but how the kids do posters when it gets time close to a big game day and everything. And there were 1 or 2 posters that were made that scalped the Indians. And that was the only time throughout my entire time in school that I remember taking some kind of offense.
This vitriol did not stop at sports either. Smoker, who was born and raised on the Colville Reservation, has seen the violence firsthand.
I grew up with a lot of the non-Indians who I felt were as much Indian as me. That's the only way I could express it. Because if I ever got in a corner, they were right there with me, you know, and I loved them like brothers. And but we go across the river, we were treated differently. And so we always had to have a defend ourselves. And I kind of grew up like that, but it was more natural. We expected it. We knew it. You know, it wasn't, we never thought anything about it.
But what about the other damage repeated exposure to this kind of language can do?
One thing that really hasn't been touched on is acknowledging the damage that mascots and symbols can do to Native American youth mental health. With mental health being such an issue that people are able to talk about now, and there's multiple studies that are showing that the damage to our Native youth, increases anxiety, depression, suicide, all of those things that many organizations are trying to to address.
It is easy to talk about this issue and lose sight of the underlying problem. Discrimination against Native Americans have been rampant since the beginning of our nation, but things are slowly beginning to change, and it would seem that education is at the forefront of that shift. While a number of schools are going the way of tribe authorization, those who aren't will have access to funds from the state as they go about rebranding. Smoker and Ann are concerned that forcing a name change is repeating the cycle.
Collective and consensual decision making has been a long time way of decision making process for Native Americans back in the day. If you do this a one-sided thing or something is changed just by making a law, I've seen both in tribal government and non-Indian governments where it has the opposite effect of what its original intent was.
Spokane sports have prioritized relationships with tribal members as well as keep the tribes and their history alive. Maybe our small town will be able to set an example for the future of what it means to stand in solidarity with the marginalized and how to lift each other up in a relationship and community. Spokane has led. Now let's see if the world will follow.
Our song is our country. The whole world is listening to hear if it's chaos or if it's harmony. We're writing it now for all generations. Let's make it worth hearing for those yet to be. We're writing it now for all generations. Let's make it worth hearing for those yet to be. We gotta make it worth hearing. For those yet to be.